why it happened, how it happened, and how we can prevent it from happening in the future. They are labeling those people as thugs. But have we ever taken the time to stop and think about what were these young people doing when they were running rampant? Some people said it was because a black youth had been killed in Tottenham. Now perhaps that's so. But how is it the death of a black man at the hands of the police in Tottenham sparks riots in Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham? All communities were affected. It went to Brixton, Camden, Blagrove, Notting Hill, where I'm from, Islington, Chalk Farm, Croydon, Alston, Hackney, Haringey. But revolution came to Britain for a short while. Now, me personally, I was working and too busy to get myself a new television set, even though I needed one. As you can see, I need new trainers. But I didn't have the time because I was working to go and get some new trainers. But understand it. It was a revolution, or the seeds of revolution. Because that is precisely how revolutions start. When they hijack. I was very amused by the protests we had. I was very intrigued by the fact that young people took to the streets to show their discontent with the society they live in. No, I don't believe that these young people were political. Look at how the media has begun to shape it. They painted them as thugs. They were robbing JD Sports. They went to Debenhams, Foot Locker. Some of these motherfuckers went to Tesco's. HMV. What? Carphone Warehouse. Starbucks. Because they need some caffeine injection when they're going to rob and loot. Look at it for what it was. These youth, if they were so angry, why the fuck didn't these little motherfuckers take themselves to 10 Downing Street, where a real revolution would be? However, let's not throw stones at the youth, the young, inexperienced, and misguided. The fact of the matter is, the protests we saw in Britain over the last week were political. If you pause and think about it.
Political?
Yes.
Criminal, Ishmael.
Criminal.
And this man...
Here we have the right-wing niggas turn up now. The right-wing niggas are in the house.
Website. Check his face.
The right-wing niggas are in the house.
This man was egging them on. Just
was I?
On your fucking Facebook.
Wow. I was.
Were you not?
I was.
Were you not? Were you not?
I'd like
Deny it.
I'd like
Deny it.
I'd like
on your fucking Facebook.
I'd like
egging them on.
I'd like to think
I'm part of the community.
I'd like to think I was doing my revolutionary duty. But if you say I was pledging,
I don't say, you say
Taiwo,
so.
Taiwo.
On your Facebook.
Taiwo, I'm glad you've had a shave this week. However, here we're civilized. Since you've left, we've become civilized.
I'm back now. I'm going back soon.
So let's have an exchange of opinions.
Please.
He says I was egging on the protesters.
The criminals. Don't call them
The
protesters.
thugs.
The criminals.
Now, Taiwo,
Yes,
perhaps you will enlighten me as to what I was saying.
No, you tell us.
I didn't say
you tell us.
You're the one who said I was
You tell us. That's not my job.
May I say this? I did not egg on anyone.
Now go on to it.
Hold on. Tylo!
Sunday.
Tylo! Tylo!
Oh, you liar.
Tylo!
Ishmael.
Please enlighten me, because I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't, Ishmael.
You say that I was egging on the protesters.
Yes, you were.
Tell me how.
No, you tell us how, Ishmael.
I don't know how, so you say it, so you
tell us.
mention it.
No, I'm not telling you. You
The
tell us.
motherfucker charges me with a crime of which he wants me to find myself guilty of. I don't know what you're talking about. Tylo!
No, Ishmael.
Everyone has the right to be stupid.
Let me
Don't
be stupid.
abuse the privilege.
Let me be stupid.
Explain to us.
No,
What
you
did I
tell us, Ishmael. You tell us.
In fact, what I posted on my first day's post,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that you follow what I'm writing.
I like to monitor Ishmael.
No, I think you're a fucking groupie. However, I said that we have that black youth.
Take your time. Take your time. Gather your thoughts.
You're right. You're right. So let me gather my thoughts so I give it to you correctly. I said something to the effect of
Oh, you can't remember now, right?
black people.
You can't remember.
Black people.
No, madam. Please don't touch me, madam.
Tylo!
My girlfriend.
Tylo!
My boyfriend.
So, I said something to the effect of Tylo! To all the social ills or whatever it might be, we have all of these issues in this society, and black youth are killing each other every day, and we say nothing. Yet, a black man is killed
No,
by
a
the police.
gangster is killed.
No, he's not.
A gangster is killed.
You asked me to recite my post.
No.
You asked me for my post.
No, a gangster.
You asked me to
No,
post.
I'm saying-
Tylo!
Don't use the
Tylo!
words of black man.
Tylo! Tylo!
A gangster.
Tylo! Tylo! You've asked me to recite what I posted.
Shut up, please.
Tylo!
Shut up.
You've asked me to
Shut
recite.
up.
You do.
Go on, get in line.
You've come back very abusive, haven't you?
Go back to Nigeria.
I'm a Muslim.
No, you're not. No, you're
No,
not.
you're not.
I'm a Muslim, madam.
No, you're
No,
not.
he's not.
You don't talk to me. I'm a Muslim.
Wait.
Cover your...
Madam! Madam!
Cover your...
Madam! Ignore him! Ignore
There
him!
you are. Move on.
He's not Muslim.
He's not Muslim.
He's not Muslim. He's just...
Tylo!
No. Cover your face.
Tylo!
Cover your face.
Tylo!
No, he ain't.
Madam! Tylo! What you asked me was about... Tylo! What you asked me was about what I posted. Tylo!
Yes, it's not.
What you asked me was what I posted.
You
So
can't remember, Ishmael.
I'm telling you what I
can't
posted.
remember. Oh,
Tylo! Tylo!
Yeah?
You interrupted. And you said gangster. I was telling you what I posted. I posted on my Facebook page. I said that black youth are killing each other. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's Ramadan, brother. Why are you smoking, brother?
Just start. Just start.
Why are you smoking?
Because I enjoy
You're the
smoking.
one behind you.
Fuck him. Fuck him. Anyway,
Yes, it's...
what I posted on my Facebook page was that black youth or youth are killing each other every day. And in our communities, we say nothing. Yet, a policeman kills a youth, and we want to burn the house down. That's what I posted. Now, Tylo, hold on.
I disagree.
Pause.
I disagree.
Tylo, stop.
Don't call him a...
Tylo, stop.
Don't call him a black
Stop.
man. Call him a gangster, Ishmael. I mean, you told me last week, you motherfucker. Over there was a gangster.
I am not a motherfucker. The only mother I fuck is yours.
You fucking idiot.
Now, Tylo.
You told me he's a gangster. Now you say that you fuck you.
Tylo, let's establish something here. Since you've left, we have had civilized meetings.
Well, I'm not civilized.
I know you're
I'm
not.
a Muslim.
I know you're not.
You're not Muslim.
Are you in?
You're not Muslim.
Now, if we are...
Cover your face. Cover your face.
Oi.
I think you ought to cover yours.
Cover your face.
Now, Tylo, Tylo, if we are to gain anything from these discussions, first of all, we have to have respect for one another. I know you don't respect yourself, and that's why I don't respect you. However, if we're going to have a debate,
Don't say that. Don't
if
say
we're
that.
going to have a
That really hurts.
debate, now he's getting sentimental. Tylo, if we're going to have a debate, let us allow
I'm quiet.
each other to be heard.
I'm quiet, Ishmael.
That's the post that I made. Will you please enlighten me?
Well, I can't remember the phone.
Now you can't remember,
Then why
because
do
it
you
never
make the
happened.
statement?
So why make the statement? However,
But Ishmael, you
However-
are making them on Ishmael.
however,
I still stand by what I said, Ishmael.
however,
Tell us, please.
however,
Yeah.
what we had were youth rioting in the streets.
Ishmael, please.
He says
Don't call them you.
criminals.
Criminals, Ishmael.
They're killing each other.
Tylo,
They're criminals.
how can we have the debate? Because you want to enforce your opinion
No, I do not.
without a dialogue.
correcting you, Ishmael.
You're not correcting me, you're forcing your
I am
opinion.
not. I am correcting you.
He says criminals. So let's analyze it. The paper says thugs.
Look at this man. He's not 16, is he? Fucking beard. So they're criminals. What do you mean you?
Tylo.
Just little kids.
Tylo.
All walks of life.
That's why we have the problems in the society, and that's why the riots may very well happen again, because motherfuckers like this, they give you their one-dimensional narrative,
Oh, really?
their perspective,
No.
without trying to gain a broader understanding as to what it is.
We saw it on TV.
Yeah, BBC.
Oh, I want my taxes back.
Tylo.
10-year-old.
My friend, Tylo,
Yes, yes.
the whole point of us talking here today, I wasn't involved in the rioting, so you should have been. However, so they could fucking burn you as an effigy. The point I'm making is this. When we have these issues happening in our society, all we're doing now is giving an analysis, our opinion, our point of view, as to why, perhaps, how it happened. I heard in the week, some government minister, conservative, saying that they want to ban hoodies. Ban people from wearing hoods. Now that is the knee-jerk reaction of government.
I agree.
Now initially people are saying there are certain social ills that need to be addressed. Now I don't believe that we should make excuses for these young people. I believe we live in a society which gives us actually much more privileges than over 90% of the rest of the world. The rest of the world. We have a generation of young people. And when I say young people, I do not say young black people as the media would like to shape this. We had young working class.
Call a young black.
Hold on.
No.
Hold on.
No, I don't call young black. Just say the word you.
Look at the attacks. They've said, councils have said, anyone convicted of rioting should be expelled from social housing. That means that if I'm a parent and my child was out rioting, that I as a parent, because it says it's culpability by family. So as a parent, if my child was out rioting and I live in social housing, then I could be put out of the social housing. Now imagine this. When the students rioted last year, these were the children of the educated class. These were educated people. These were the students who received the highest results across the country. When they rioted, and many of them were middle class, the government did not say that their homes should be taken away from them, that they should lose any benefits. So the sanction that the government is placing in terms of its penal view to this is to sanction the already poor, struggling and suffering working masses. Parents who are struggling to raise their children through lack of education. I'm not making any excuses. I make no excuses. Hold on, my friend. Let me just make the point I'm making. Okay.
I'm just going to say about the eviction from the council. Jack Straw.
Jack Straw, former Home Secretary.
His son was arrested and convicted.
His son was convicted of selling drugs.
And
he's here to be held.
Hold on, let me finish. They didn't ask Jack Straw, his wife, and the rest of the children to get out of their home.
They didn't ask Jack Straw.
Social housing, is it?
My friend, Kurt, you're a friend of mine, and I don't know whether you've been smoking any marijuana before you came here. But there's absolutely no link between a man selling weed on the streets and a youth who are rioting. Or whatever it was. I can see what the councils are saying, because the youth are out damaging properties. And they have a duty and responsibility to protect the community. It's about the broader dialogue. I'm simply saying, and without interruption, what we saw on the streets of London with youth rioting across the country, and there were white youths too. There were middle class people too. We had the conviction of a millionaire's daughter in the week. What we saw was anarchy. a form of anarchy which manifests itself from the belly, the base of society. And I'm saying that that act was political. Allow me. When the students, it's no different what was happening on the streets. To the students' riots, to the trade unionists, or any other protesters. However, when you're from the base of society, you don't articulate anything. When you rioted in Brixton in '81, there was no political articulation of the problem. In fact, when you look at it, poor working class people, destructive in their poor analysis of an understanding of the problem, tend to burn down their own communities. And the authorities don't mind too much. If they decide they're going to burn down Oxford Street, they'll call in the fucking National Guard. If they say they're going to burn down Buckingham Palace, they'll call the fucking Special Forces, the SAS, on the street. But as long as they burn down their own McDonald's, their own Tesco's, and their own houses, that's fine. Because from the working classes, the masses, the anarchy, you can't control it. We saw with the student riots, when the students went out and protested, these were young, predominantly white students who actually believed they were engaging in revolutionary change. They gathered, they pissed in the doorway of McDonald's and thought, look at me, with a photo opportunity. They weren't breaking houses. They sprayed on cars.
Down Ishmael.
They broke. Hold on, Tyrell. They broke shop windows. They broke into the head offices of the Conservative Party. Of the Labour Party. Sorry. They broke into the headquarters of the Tory head office and threw fire extinguishers from the roof. And they believed they were revolutionary. What did the police do? Because the police are trained to deal with these types of insurrections. The police cordon off the area. They call it kettling. They contain the protesters, who are predominantly white, middle class, come from good homes. The protesters started to complain, I need to use the toilet. They started complaining, it's getting cold. We want to go home. The police kept them there for a few hours in the morning and then said, go. And the protesters said, thank you, and went home. With the anarchy on the streets, you can't kettle that. You can't control it. You can't even police it. It was anarchy at its rawest form. In fact, the protesters, as I will call them, kettled the police.
Let me ask you a question.
The police were fucked. They had no strategy.
Why do you call them protesters?
No training.
Why do you call them protesters, Ishmael?
Because I understand the political vendetta behind what they were doing.
What political vendetta?
Well, let me explain.
What political?
Let me explain. These young people don't. Let me explain. These young people don't know how to articulate themselves.
They weren't young people, Ishmael.
Let's go back to the core. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning. A man was killed. Hold on. We are now focused on the rioting without focusing on the cause. So we look at the symptoms without looking at the cause. We had a young man who was killed in police custody, Mark Duggan. Now you might say,
gangster.
Time, hold on. A gangster?
Young man. Why you say young man, Ishmael? Explain Ishmael.
Tyler.
Stay up on the community, Ishmael.
Tyler, allow me. We have a man. Hold on. We had a man who was killed by the police. We don't know the circumstances, so we can't speculate.
Yes, we do.
Oh, what are they?
You know Ishmael.
Oh, what are they?
You told me last week.
What are they? What are they?
No, you know Ishmael.
What are the circumstances?
Remember what you told me last week?
What are the circumstances?
No, read the paper, Ishmael.
What are the circumstances? The circumstances. Tyler.
Read the paper.
Tyler.
But I guess, you know, we don't trust the media, do we, Ishmael?
No.
We don't trust the media. It wasn't a gangster. Innocent black man again being shot by the police.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Innocent black
Not
man
at all.
being shot by the police.
Do you know,
Bad.
as a government agent,
Anyone who fuck you. What do you mean government agent?
As a government agent,
Fuck you.
you would actually learn a lot more by listening. And you're welcome to fuck me. Just tell me when. I'm on top because my dick's bigger than yours.
That doesn't matter.
That's what your girlfriend tells you.
How you use it doesn't matter.
Now, Tyrell,
Yes, Ishmael.
understand this.
What?
We have to look deeper than that. The police report, the first police report was this, that Mark Duggan shot at them, that there was an exchange of gunfire.
It's not true.
Oh, now you're saying it. But you said we must not read this. Read this.
Don't need to read this.
Read this, Ishmael.
Tyrell, I'll tell you what, before we read that, why don't you just pause? Then you might learn something, and then you can go home and impress your girlfriend, and then she'll give you the fuck of her life. Just like I'm giving her. Like I am giving her.
He's not a gangster. Go on.
I am giving your
Tell us
girlfriend.
how innocent he was, Ishmael. Go on. He was innocent.
I don't take these positions.
Oh, really?
I don't assume he's innocent or guilty. I just don't know.
Oh, you don't know.
Yeah, but you
had a
know.
gun, right?
Let me
Had
tell
a
you.
gun here.
Oh, he said he had a gun.
Not
Evidence. Hold on. Miss Tyrell. Tyrell, you said he had a gun in his sock.
Did he not?
Can you tell me what evidence you have to suggest this? There's been no trial. We don't know where the gun came from. We don't know who fired a shot.
Oh my God, it was planted.
Yes.
Sorry.
I haven't
It's the
said that.
police again.
I don't know. That's your assumption.
I'm sorry.
That's your assumption.
No, that's yours.
No, I haven't made that. I don't know whether he had a gun or not. I'm waiting.
In North Korea.
Sir, by due course, by due course.
I'm sorry, he's innocent. You're right, Ishmael.
No.
Poor black man.
No.
I apologize. A poor black man. He was a gangster.
Tyrell,
Another black
you're
victim,
trying to
yeah.
paint your narrative by talking over.
I'm sorry, let me be quiet.
That's why you failed your exams at school.
I know. What am I going to do?
Simple, Tyrell.
I'm a traffic warden.
I already have internalized the facts and my understanding as to why it happened. It's for your benefit.
Okay, then tell us, Ishmael. I'll be quiet.
No, I won't tell you. Fuck
Please,
off.
please, tell us.
I will tell them.
You should go there.
You can go fuck yourself. I'll tell them.
Tell us to cover up.
Go fuck yourself or go fuck your girl like I fucked her last night.
Tell us.
Very good.
Now chill out, my friend. Let me just enlighten you. Because remember, I need to make friends. I don't give a fuck about anyone. I don't
Fuck you too, Ishmael. I'm not your friend.
We can fuck when you're ready, Ty.
Yes, my friend.
Just tell me the date and the time.
Thank God for that.
Now, beyond all the profanities, let's capture some sanity. In understanding what it is, I'm simply saying that this was the form of expression, anarchy, which comes up in almost any riot. When they burned down Los LA over the Rodney King conviction. So the Rodney King incident. These are how riots manifest themselves as anarchic. I'm saying, let's pause for a while and let's look behind why it may have happened.
Okay. I'm quiet, Ishmael.
Fantastic. You're not quiet, you're still talking.
Oh, fuck you.
When, as I said.
Please.
Now, in looking at it and saying the students rioted because of this, trade unions are out there doing all that they may do, the young people could not and do not articulate themselves in that way. However, there are core issues within the society that we still have not dealt with and embraced. And the social spending cuts is certainly one of them. The youth, they see all of these things happening around them.
Oh, the spending cuts.
No, I'm not saying that. Tyrell, Tyrell,
I'm sorry.
I don't believe the youth sit down and think, look at these social spending cuts. They've cut X amount of percent from the National Health Service. They're cutting police jobs. The youth don't do that. But I'm saying it's background information. We see youth who are watching television and they see on the news every day, they see the British government telling us that the protests in Libya and Syria are legitimate. Now let's go to Syria and Libya for one moment. In Syria and Libya, the Syrian and Libyan protests began in the very same way.
There is a connection.
Hold on, let me show you. The Libyan and Syrian uprisings began in the very same way. The youth of Libya came out onto the streets to protest about poor housing, lack of housing, and they were also claiming they wanted freedom of expression. That was hijacked. Now those are protests, and there was violence engaged in those protests. On the first day of protests in Libya, Al Jazeera reported that 14 people were killed. 11 of them were policemen. Yet, the Western media still decided to portray the Libyan protests as peaceful protests. 14 people killed on the first day of protests in Libya, yet the Western media, the BBC, CNN, Sky News reports that peaceful protesters, 11 of them were police officers. What does that tell you? They raided an army barracks to get more weapons. Yet, what did the British media do? What did the government do? The British government supported the rebels, called them protesters, said they need arms, claimed that they were a popular uprising. They created a UN no-fly zone. They had an ICC investigation which indicted Gaddafi. They said there's a travel ban from Revolution 1970 imposed on the 26th of February 2011. This is how the West responded to those protests. Yet, we're not going into Gaddafi. We're not going into Gaddafi yet. Because, sir, oh, hold on. Okay, let's go into that before we get let's do that. Fuck it, it's my stage, fuck you. So we'll go into that. Now he said that didn't happen until Gaddafi.
You're annoying.
He said,
why don't you go back to BBC? You sound like
Madam. Taiwo is a regular here. What you have to do is learn to ignore him like his parents did. Ignore him. I understand, Madam, I totally understand. His parents ignored him, society ignored him, and we ignore him. Don't worry about it. Now, let's get back to the question. Hold on. He said it only began after Gaddafi began killing his people. And that was the narrative that was sold to the government. People were being killed.
They were being killed.
Of course.
Can I just remind you? We got to kill all of them.
Now he says, Gaddafi said, we're going to kill all of them. The issue is, I'm having a discussion with him. The issue is, Gaddafi never said that. He never said that. Gaddafi said, what he said was, he said, we're going to kill all the cockroaches. The rebels. Hold on. He said, we're going to kill all the cockroaches. Now, a month and a half later, when the rebels began to fight when they were fighting back, the rebels seized Misrata. And what did the rebels say? The rebels said, we're going to kill all the rats. Now, it's funny how, when Gaddafi said, we're going to kill all the cockroaches, the media translates that as he's going to kill all people. Yet, when the rebels say, we're going to kill all the rats, they claim they're going to get rid of the I know your propaganda is bullshit. I understand why you're taking it, because you're stupid.
I agree.
Now, sir, Taiwo, my friend, sir, you are intelligent. You have no excuses. He's stupid. He has an excuse.
Yes, I was born black.
What's your... No, black. To be black.
Don't insult the black.
Being black.
What am I going to do?
Taiwo,
I wish I was born white.
being black is only incidental to your stupidity. Being black is only incidental to your
Sue me then,
stupidity.
motherfucker.
I won't sue you. Fuck you. Don't sue idiots. Sir.
Well, it's my opinion. There's no connection about Libya situation.
Right. So he says there's no connection. Let me make the connection and go back. The connection is this. The youth, the young children, the young people on the streets here, when they watch any news report, they see the news report saying these protesters are right. It's an uprising. It's a popular uprising. These young people were anarchic from their base. They actually believed that they were doing something revolutionary. They were turning against...
Come on. They were stealing plasma TVs.
Those shoes look new. Come on. I could imagine you were these motherfuckers.
I'm black.
Yeah,
exactly. Prone to crime. Shut up. Cover yourself, my friend. Cover yourself. Cover yourself.
Why do you want people to cover yourself?
Sorry?
Have you put yourself in this position?
If I put myself in
this position. If you're one of those people, they don't represent what you call them. Then you go and steal corner shops.
Sir, in the week, this week Wednesday, on Wednesday I gave a speech, I gave a talk outside the American Embassy.
Yeah, you did.
On Wednesday we were talking about, we were outside the embassy, and it was a demonstration about NATO's bombing of Libya. And we made it quite clear